Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Fantastic Four films. There are currently four films that we can talk about until the release of the fifth one coming out later this year. So without further ado, I decided to give you guys my ranking of the films from worst to best. This is a series based on the popular Marvel Comics series of the same name, and it's essentially about four people who get superpowers after a cosmic event and use their powers to save the day, much like many other heroes. This is an interesting series of films, and so without further ado, I decided to give you guys my list from worst to best. Starting with Fant Four Stick, also known as Fantastic Four 2015. This was the attempt to reboot the series, and it's just not a very good film. This film was a mistake all around. Not only were they going for a dark and edgy tone, they really just lack a sense of adventure and excitement in this film, and it's just really dull. It has the basic same origin story, only instead of going to space, they go to another dimension. They all get hit with these cosmic rays of sorts, and all five of them, Doctor Doom included, get mutated. Only they accidentally leave Doctor Doom behind. What happens is Reed Richards goes on the run, while the other three are more or less prisoners to the government, and they're testing their powers out. And they all have to come together at the end to fight Doom, who's been gaining power in the other dimension. Despite having no sort of resources to live, he's mutated so he can survive off of cosmic rays, I suppose. It's just dull. The Thing is completely CGI and he looks really bad. All the acting is really stiff and wooden. There's great actors here, such as Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, and even Kate Mara, but no one really here looks like they want to be there. And there's really obvious reshoots as well, including ones that you can tell where Kate Mara is wearing a really bad blonde wig. Just a snooze fest of a movie with next to no action, and I heard Josh Trank, who was apparently hard to work with, was really upset with the final product, and I can understand that. Even if he was kind of hard to work with, it's kind of obvious that they butchered his film. Just a bad movie all around, and one that we should just forget. Up next, we have the 1994 Fantastic Four film. This film was never officially released, although you can find it on YouTube, and it is available on bootleg DVD online. It's not a bad little movie, and it's fun for what it is. It's basically a Roger Corman produced schlocky take on the Fantastic Four, although honestly, it's probably the most comic accurate of the movies. It's entertaining for what it is. The actors really are trying here, and I feel bad for them because they actually didn't know they were making a movie that was never meant to be released. This was only made to keep the rights to the film. They had to technically make a movie in order to retain the rights, and they never told the actors that they had no intention of releasing it, so they're actually giving it their all. It's schlocky, it's cheesy, it's not something I would consider great, but you can tell there is some heart here, and it's a lot more entertaining than the 2015 film, I can tell you that much. Fun for what it is, and it's not like offensive, it's just kind of a cheesy blockbuster, and one that I do kind of recommend and have a soft spot for. Coming in at number 2 is Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. Released in 2007, this film is the sequel to the 2005 Fantastic Four film, and it has the same cast returning from that film and the same director. This film is an okay sequel, but there are some problems here. For one, Jessica Alba's Sue Storm is really underutilized and she seems bored. I even heard the director told her not to smile too much in the movie, or something along those lines, because they wanted her to keep looking pretty and not be overly emotive. I have no idea what that's all about. It's also clear that this film does not care for following the comics in any sort of way. You have Galactus in the movie, as well as the Silver Surfer, who is coming to Earth to more or less scout the planet for Galactus to consume. The only problem is Galactus in this movie is a giant cloud. You do get an outline of him in the film briefly, but it's just like a little hint of what he's really supposed to look like. Maybe they were planning on showing him later, but this is just all you get in this movie, and it's really embarrassing. Not a bad film. I actually think that the action is pretty fun, and even though it is overly cheesy, and it's actually a PG superhero film, which is really rare these days, it's an okay little film. Doctor Doom was played very well by Julian McMahon, and I think he does good in the sequel as well. This one doesn't have a whole lot going for it, but I do think they did try with this one. I think it's kind of fun, and it's cool to see like the power swapping thing with Johnny, and I like how he absorbed all their powers at the end. But it's not as good as its predecessor, but it is better than the film that came after it. A decent movie with decent action, and a really good performance by Doug Jones and Lawrence Fishburne as the Silver Surfer. This one is worth watching, but just keep your expectations in check and expect a decent movie, not a great one. And that leads us to our number 1 pick, which would have to be Fantastic Four, 2005. This was a pretty entertaining film, one that I actually really like. It's not great in terms of action. I do think some of the special effects don't really hold up. Even back then, they were a little hokey looking. But it is cool to see our heroes go to space, get cosmic powers, and learn to live together. A large portion of this film actually takes place in the Baxter building, and it ultimately culminates in them having to fight Doctor Doom, who basically just loses his mind and goes on a rampage in the city. This one has a really good cast. Ian McGregor is great as Mr. Fantastic. Jessica Alba actually is pretty good as Sue Storm. Chris Evans played a really good Johnny Storm before he ever played Captain America. And of course, Michael Chiklis does a really good job as the Thing here as well. It's a good cast all around, and there is some good action towards the end of the movie. But unfortunately, there's only a few action scenes in the first half, and they're pretty much just bickering in the Baxter building while trying to recreate the storm so they can cure themselves, which doesn't make sense because they don't even know how the storm works because they never got readings from it, but I digress. Despite some flaws in the story, and a lack of action, I do actually rather enjoy this one, and it has a soft spot in my heart. This movie came out when I was young, and I still do enjoy it. And I think it's actually a decent little movie. And it's my favorite of the Fantastic Four films. Well, that's my list. I do thank you all for watching. There are some fun Fantastic Four video games as well, including one on the PS2 and one on the 360. And there's even a really hokey one on the PS1 back in the day. And unfortunately, I think the characters never really got justice on the silver screen. And hopefully this new Fantastic Four film coming out this year will give them that. But despite all that, I do enjoy these films, with the exception of Fantastic. And I do hope that the new film will actually give these characters the justice that they deserve. I thank you all for watching. Let me know your favorite Fantastic Four movie down below, or give me your list. And peace out.